New Superman number 16, Gene Luen Yang writing, Brent Peoples on art, and of course we ended the last issue with this big thing where Keenan passed out after fighting, New Doomsday, I'll call him,
Yeah.
and he woke up on what appeared to be 1937 Chinatown, San Francisco, with Fu On You, I think was the name of this character from the old
Well, I knew.
Detective Comics, and it's actually the Dark I Ching that's pretending to be him. And yeah, we have a name for him now.
But
We do have a name for him now.
go
The
ahead.
name is All Yang. Is his name?
All Yang.
Yeah.
Which makes me wonder if I Ching, that's like the all yin, because they're yin and
Yeah.
yang.
Remember I Ching,
And
Matt? That's how you pronounce it.
I Ching, that's right. I did all through the last book. This one just it threw me, but
Mm-hmm.
like in the commentary here.
Oh, I know.
So they're in Chinatown, and there's all these, and they look like the propaganda images from World War II, and they're
it's
just
worth
really nasty.
and it's worth mentioning that the art here is very old school. They very intentionally
Yeah,
had a very old colouring style and an old,
yeah,
in this sort of
and
sequence in this Chinatown.
yeah, and so you see, Keenan. He's like, "What are those little goblins?" And in comes this, strapping white guy, and he's coming in and just starts beating on these creatures, and then the All Yang's like, yeah, but this is all just an illusion. This is what it's really going on. And it's Slam Bradley just beating the mess out of these Chinese people living in Chinatown.
Yeah, and
And
that's how deep the commentary is, though, is that Keenan's like,
yeah,
yeah, what are these goblins? What are these creatures? Yeah, punch
yeah,
those awful-looking things. And then he realises,
yeah,
and it's kind of this weird, it's a very meta thing, because this is how, back in those propaganda days, like, this is how they draw
yeah,
Asian people, and it's super racist, and it's like, when he
yeah,
realises what they actually are, he steps in and, like, takes on this Slam Bradley character.
right.
Um,
And Slam Bradley, another, who's we talked about with Catwoman a couple weeks ago. Like he's intertwined in Batman comics, and so the fact that this goes all the way back to Detective Comics and Action Comics of that time period, Yang's doing something really special with just the comics medium in itself and with the Superman story. Because this is kind of what comics were before superheroes. It were these white guys going into, what they considered the unknown and
mm,
just wreaking havoc, and everybody was okay with it. And it kind of dehumanized other cultures. And so you have this whole entire book from day one that was like, yeah, we're going to tell a Superman story, but in a completely different culture, but it's still going to connect with everybody.
yeah,
I I've never felt alienated the fact that these are Asian characters, having
mm,
exploits in China. I've
not
never felt
once.
out of the loop like people, a Chinese American in 37. I can imagine reading a comic book that was like that. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Like
the way they
how
draw
far we've come.
the teeth and all the rest of it. That's just this awful stuff.
Yeah.
And just to point out the art, I mentioned the old style of art. Keenan, however, wasn't like Keenan and all
No,
Yang. They're actually modern art, but everything around them, the other characters are all
it's old school.
old school. Until he focuses his key and he like
Right.
enhances his vision to see what it really looks like, and then it all turns into modern art. So it plays with the art there quite a bit. It's really really effective. He
Yeah.
almost uses his heat vision because All
Right.
Yang wants him to kill this guy. He wants him to kill Slam Bradley,
Yeah.
and he decides to no. He uses his freeze breath instead, which is the first time he's ever used it, and he freezes his
Right.
hands instead to like stop him, and that's it.
Right.
But basically, All Yang wants to convince him that everyone else is evil, and he wants him to be the new emperor of not only China but then take over the world, like the dynasty
Right.
would have wanted to do once upon a time.
Right.
Like he wants to take over the planet, but he's like, oh, I wanted to do this with Emperor Superman, but he failed, so now you're the next best option. And
Yeah.
Kieran basically says okay, but only because he finds out that I Ching's been trapped. He's got him trapped in a different
Yep.
dimension, and he wants him back. So he wants to go along with it to get him back. But he also tells him of this, what was it called? The Red
The
Jade
red.
Dragon,
Right.
which is where his power comes from. It's connected to his thing, and the dragon on it, when it kind of like fades into an S at one point. It's the same
Yeah.
S on his chest, and you see
And same as the Big UA symbol too.
yeah,
So I like that, and it tied it into this German guy that was in Chinatown, and All Yang, destroys him, and from that he gets the red Jade Dragon and shows Keenan what his mission going to be
yeah.
is. So I'm wondering if like this was just going to wrap up super quick, like with 18, like we were talking about in the Supergirl section, or if he added this now and this is the plot going forward. You know?
I feel like this was always going to be here, but maybe like it would have had 2 more issues to wrap it up. But maybe now it'll be more. You can decompress it a little bit. You can do more things with it. But I like it, and obviously he wakes up. Actually, after this, he wakes up after he's agreed, and he wakes up in a tank. He's been in a coma apparently for a week in the real world. This has all been kind of in his head, but we assume it's real. That this was all really happening.
Yeah.
But I loved it when he wakes up, because this is kind of his death and rebirth after fighting Doomsday. He's in a black suit with a yellow, version of his logo on the chest. It's a really nice callback to like what it's kind of doing. And Ming Ming's happy to see him. The Justice League of China are happy to see him. They're all quite happy. They mentioned that the Suicide Squad ran off, and the criminals are on the crab, all the rest of it. So he goes to see his mother, and she's happy to see him, but then she's not happy that he's going to go off and try and do anything. He's like, so she actually knocks him out and locks him in a cage, locks him in a cell. But immediately later that same night, Banksy and Delane and Avery all show up. The Justice League show up and break him out. Right, we've got let's go and do stuff. We picked up a signal that implied your thing might be in Metropolis. Let's go there. And it's just, do you know what I like about this? Is it really felt over the last arc where they got into the building, they were working together. It really felt like they bonded as a team. So them coming to break him out, them jailbreaking him out to help him get his thing so that they can rescue I Ching. It really feels like it's earned the friendship. It's earned this team vibe. Because they still make fun of each other. Banksy, I'm sure, still going to take the piss out of him repeatedly and vice versa. But this was really fun. And then the big ending is that they're flying in the what was it he calls it, the BUV, the Bat Utility Vehicle. Which is flying
version 2 now.
Yeah, which is flying around, and then it's like, there's an undetected flying device coming towards us. Initiate, what was it he calls it again? Mecha Bat sequence, and it's basically a transformer. Although I'm not going to forgive Yang. He put in a joke here where Bakshi says, "You know how much of a fan I am of those Michael Bay movies." No, bad Yang.
He's allowed to. He needs a flaw. We all like we all like Baishi, so he's allowed to have a flaw of liking Michael Bay movies.
Bad Yang.
Especially the Transformers.
Yeah. It does look cool though. I like that it is basically a Transformer. It just is. But the little twist here at the end though is that what they shot down, what they thought was a hostile craft, turned out to be the Justice League. So that's what the next issue is going to be. It's going to be the Justice League of China versus the Justice League of America, but not really, because that's a different book. But you know what I mean? The main Justice League.
Right. So real quick before we finish, I just want to touch on Slam Bradley. So I just wikied him just to look. He was the first star of Detective Comics, so that started in Detective Comics 1 in March 1937. But he was created by Malcolm Wheeler Nicholson and Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster. So the fact, and the cover, man, of the first Detective Comics is terrible. It's basically the scene that we just saw play out with Keenan. So the fact Yang's doing all this homework on top of it, and I feel more people need to read this. So, I felt like that before, but then just wikiing Slam to see where, how this fit in, and I found out that he was a creation of Siegel and Shuster as well, before Superman. This is my torch that I'm going to talk about nonstop.
I like that he is taking these things, which are wrong things at the time, absolutely. I mean, obviously they're wrong things now if they did them, but it's like saying, no, this happened, it shouldn't have happened, but we're going to use it, we're going to say, okay, no, this is how far we've come, this is, we have a proper book about Asian characters with good, strong Asian characters who get to do all these things, and the way he's using it to make his commentary, but also kind of connect to this sort of darker part of DC history that we don't like to talk about because it is bad, it isn't nice. It's...
and it fit kind of in the same spot that we kind of wanted Mr. Oz to be revealed as the original Superman.
Yeah, kind of, actually.
You know what I mean? And so the fact that it's touching on that too, I can't, again, continuity wonk here. And the fact that he's playing with real life stuff to tell this story.
That's good stuff.
So effortlessly, it's really a thing.